नमस्कार, नई परख के गुफ्तगू कार्यक्रम में आपका स्वागत है। आज के इस कार्यक्रम में हम एक ऐसी पुस्तक के बारे में बातचीत करेंगे जो हायर स्टडीज़ के इंस्टीट्यूशंस हैं, उच्चतर शिक्षा संस्थान जो है यानी कि कॉलेज और विश्वविद्यालय, वहाँ पर जो जाति के आधार पर भेदभाव है उसकी पड़ताल करती है। इस पुस्तक में बहुत ही तथ्यात्मक तरीके से गहन अनुसंधान के साथ ये दिखाने की कोशिश की गई है कि किस तरीके से जो नियम हैं, कानून हैं, उनके बावजूद हर स्तर पर जो दलित छात्र हैं, जो वंचित तबकों के छात्र हैं, वो भेदभाव का सामना कर रहे हैं। आज हम जिस पुस्तक की चर्चा करेंगे उसका शीर्षक है कास्ट डिस्क्रिमिनेशन एंड एक्सक्लूजन इन इंडियन यूनिवर्सिटीज अ क्रिटिकल रिफ्लेक्शन। और ये किताब इसी साल यानी 2023 में प्रकाशित हुई है और इसके लेखक हैं एन सुकुमार। और मैं इस पूरी बातचीत को आगे बढ़ाने से पहले धनंजय और एन सुकुमार सर का यहाँ पर स्वागत करूँगा। सर नमस्कार। तो धनंजय नमस्कार। और जो सबसे शुरुआती बात मैं अपने दर्शकों को बताना चाहूँगा वह यह है कि एमए के दिनों में प्रोफेसर एन सुकुमार ने मुझे और धनंजय दोनों को पढ़ाया है और पूरी दिल्ली विश्वविद्यालय में और इसके आसपास चाहे जेएनयू हो या दूसरे कई विश्वविद्यालय हों, वहाँ पर जो सामाजिक न्याय के मुद्दा है या फिर जो वंचित तबकों के विद्यार्थी हों उनके हित की बात है या फिर क्लासरूम शिक्षण को बहुत ही गंभीरता से लेने की बात है, इन सारे जो मसले हैं, ये सारे जो पहलू हैं, उस पर प्रोफेसर एन सुकुमार लगातार सक्रिय रहे हैं। अभी इनकी एक और किताब आने वाली है जो कि को-एडिटेड है और यह किताब जो है बहुत ही गंभीर प्रश्न खड़े करती है जिनके बारे में हम आगे बातचीत करेंगे। प्रोफेसर एन सुकुमार जो अलग-अलग जो रिसर्च जर्नल्स हैं, उसमें उनका लेखन लगातार सामने आता रहा है और इन्होंने लगातार ही विद्यार्थियों को ये प्रेरित करने की कोशिश की है कि वो गंभीरता से रिसर्च करें और कुछ सामाजिक मुद्दों से भी जुड़ें। तो एक लिहाज से एक आदर्श शिक्षक से हम आज बात करने जा रहे हैं। अपनी बातचीत की शुरुआत में इस किताब के बारे में मैं सिर्फ यही कहूँगा कि अगर आप इस किताब से गुज़रेंगे, तो इसमें जो एक व्यक्तिगत अनुभव है उससे आगे बढ़ते हुए, जो पूरी विश्वविद्यालयों की संरचना है, उसमें जो उच्च जाति की मानसिकता है और अलग-अलग तरीके से जो वंचित समूह के विद्यार्थी हैं वो कई तरह की परेशानियाँ झेल रहे हैं, उनके बारे में बताया गया है। प्रोफ़ेसर एन सुकुमार की पहली भाषा हिंदी नहीं है, शायद ये इनकी तीसरी, चौथी या पाँचवीं भाषा हो, लेकिन फिर भी ये कोशिश करते हैं कि उसमें संवाद करें। पर हम ये ज़रूर कहेंगे कि हमारा जो प्रश्न होगा वो इंग्लिश में होगा और अगर प्रोफ़ेसर सुकुमार चाहें तो उसका जवाब इंग्लिश में दे सकते हैं। तेलुगु हम लोग के लिए थोड़ी मुश्किल होगी, तो शायद हम इंग्लिश में सहमति बना पाएँ और अगर आप चाहें तो थोड़ी बहुत कई बार कुछ बातें हिंदी में भी कह सकते हैं, लेकिन उसका बिल्कुल ही कोई दबाव नहीं है। तो इस बातचीत की शुरुआत में मैं धनंजय आपको इस बात के लिए आमंत्रित करूँगा कि आप कुछ बात कहें और पहला सवाल रखें।
Uh, uh, Thank you, Kamal. Thank you for this opportunity to discuss the book with Professor N. Sukumar. And he has been my teacher since last 22 years. In 2002, we met each other and we learned a lot from him. And one of the best thing about Professor N. Sukumar was treating everyone equally with utmost sensitivity and equal dignity. See, in this context, this book becomes very, very important intervention, caste discrimination and exclusion in Indian universities, a critical reflection by Professor N. Sukumar. This book is very, very important because we had been reading a lot about discrimination, theories of discrimination, justice and practice. This is the perhaps first book which does empirical studies backed by massive normative, substantive, theoretical formulations. And one of the best part of this book is conceptualization backed by the empirical data. And if you look at the language of the book, which appeals you, which wants you to understand things very seriously. For example, this book appeals us to understand caste as capital, hands versus brains, education apartheid in India, the live words of the excluded, epistemic injustices, epistemicide of the list in classroom, campus predators, delinquent student and campus surveillance, and social cosmology of merit and pervasive injustice. In these backdrops, I would like to have first question. Your book discusses autoethnography and the university's deviant body. For many of us and most of the scholars, this autoethnography and universities deviant body would be a very not a normal term and not normal encounter. Would you like to explain it further?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. It says that the host has muted your mic. Thank you so much, both Kamal and Dhananjay. It's like I mean, we are all together. There is nothing like student and teacher. We are all colleagues. Therefore, that is what I would like to. First of all, I would like to say that we are all in the same profession, and we are for a particular. We chose this profession for a noble purpose. So therefore, I really appreciate your efforts in bringing into discussion of certain new books. मतलब जिस तरीके से नया नया किताब आप लोगों को सामने रख के जिस तरीके से डिबेट करवा रहा है, ये तो बहुत बहुत अच्छा है. खासकर जहां जो यूनिवर्सिटीज तक पहुंचना है, दैट इज बेसिकली democratizing knowledge, disseminating knowledge. That's what you people are doing. So therefore, Naya Parik को team को both of you, I'm really thankful for inviting me for this discussion. Now, two things, Dhananjay, which you asked. एक तो है एक ऑटो इथनोग्राफी, किस तरीके से मैंने इस किताब में इस्तेमाल किया और ये क्या है, और दूसरा जो है वो डिविएंट बॉडी के बारे में आप बताने के लिए पूछा मेरे से. ये जो सी दी बेसिकली आई ट्राई टू लोकेट माई सेल्फ एज ए सब्जेक्ट when I first attempted to understand discrimination in universities. जब 2008 में मैंने एक छोटा सा पेपर लिखा, उसमें मैंने एक चीज किया, एक मेथोडोलॉजी यूज किया, किस तरीके से मैं अपने आप एक सब्जेक्ट बन के यूनिवर्सिटी स्पेस का अंदर लोकेट होने नाते किस तरीके से दलित जो पिछड़े वर्ग, स्पेशली दलित बच्चे जो है वो शोषित किस तरीके से होता है, भेदभाव किस तरीके से वो के शिकार होता है. सो देयरफॉर आई यूज्ड दिस ऑटो एथनोग्राफी एज ए मेथड. Now, as I said, located myself as a subject, as a student, what I have experienced in Hyderabad University. That is one of the basic thing which I utilized to, over a period of time, how I negotiated within the university spaces, with my peer group, with my teachers, और वो जो तमाम स्पेसेस जो है यूनिवर्सिटी का अंदर, ये सारा चीज जैसे स्टूडेंट का टाइम पे उन्होंने किस तरीके से मैंने फेस किया. और दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी जैसा जगह में, जैसे यूनिवर्सिटी में काम करने शुरू होने के बाद, आफ्टर माय एम्प्लॉय ज्वाइनिंग एज ए फैकल्टी इन दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी, it's a struggle for me to establish myself in a university where there are different political groups which are very active. Some political groups are completely if not favoring, it's a contested kind of space. So therefore, as a faculty, मैं जो लास्ट एग्जाम्पल दिया मेरा किताब में, किस तरीके से मेरे को जो एक्सपर्ट बनने के लिए जो मौका था, उसको भी डिपार्टमेंट ने वो स्कटल करके मेरे को ऑब्जर्वर का रूप से ही वो देखा गया है. तो दैट वाज, इट्स लाइक 22 इयर्स का अंदर मैंने बहुत तमाम चीजों को लेके आके फिर ऐसे जो टीचर्स है बहुत यूनिवर्सिटी में किस तरीके से ये प्रॉब्लम्स फेस करता है, बच्चे फेस करता है, दैट आई यूज्ड एज ए मेथड एंड आल्सो as an observer, SC/ST observer, and also as an expert on certain occasions, not on many occasions. So therefore, on official capacity, how I also experienced these kind of ups and downs. There were support and there were cosplaying on my identity, my caste background, my reserved quota child background. So this is how I brought that. And secondly, deviant bodies. What is these deviant bodies? See, especially when Dalits were never part of academic universe in India till 1985, late 80s. There were only few people who used to come till higher education, like generation like Gopal Guru, Professor Thorat, or Professor Chalam, or Professor Nancharaya, such kind of people who used to get on the open merit, not even with the reserved status. So for Dalits, the university spaces, the academic spaces were very new. So therefore, they become new subjects. In fact, for them, it's a very strange environment for them, and not only for Dalits, but also for the other till 1990s, when the other means the others, the prominent within quotes, prominent socially background, teachers or student. These people who entered into the spaces, they feel that it is someone is trying to encroaching their space. तो ये जो टसल जो है, ये डिविएंट बॉडीज, इस तरीके से मैंने ये बोला गया है. देयरफॉर ये दोनों ग्रुप्स है, दलित्स और नॉन दलित्स, और नॉन और अपर कास्ट. अगेन मैं इसलिए इस्तेमाल कर रहा हूं विद इन कोट्स, समझाने के लिए इस्तेमाल कर रहा हूं. वो दोनों they don't merge their paths, they never cross into their paths. कन्वर्जेंस नहीं होता है, द पैरेलल चलता रहता है. सो देयरफॉर दलित से रह जाता है, नॉन दलित तरीके से रह जाता है. सो देयरफॉर यूनिवर्सिटी रिफ्लेक्ट्स द सोशल रियलिटी ऑफ द सोसाइटी दैट आल्सो वन कैन सी इन द यूनिवर्सिटी स्पेसेस.
धनंजय, मैं एक क्वेश्चन पूछना चाहूँगा अगर आपकी इजाज़त हो तो. सर, you mentioned in your book in the first chapter that many previous VCs or a committee of VCs actually recommended that we should not promote reservation in JNU because more serious intellectuals will move away from JNU to some foreign universities. Now, this is, and you mentioned this, that this is a kind of argument which actually underlined the fact that if you want to protect so-called merit, you need to move away from this whole idea of reservation in recruitment processes. So, my question is that do you think that there is some change now after 1 or 2 decades, and because many teachers have come to this profession from marginalized background? So what is the situation now, and what kind of experience you felt during your teaching profession?
Well, I can divide this into 3 different phases. Pre 1990s phase वो जो है, वहां पे ज्यादा इंप्लीमेंटेशन ऑफ रिजर्वेशंस नहीं हो पाया. मंडल कमीशन के बाद जिस तरीके से सोशल जस्टिस मूवमेंट्स आगे बढ़ के एक माहौल बनाया, रिजर्वेशंस वर देयर, दे वर सपोज्ड टू बी इंप्लीमेंटेड as per the roster model, and the entire roster model is also a different ball game. मैं उस पे नहीं जा रहा हूं. जो 1990s का पहले जो माहौल थे, it's like it was seriously, it was not implemented. Reservations never implemented. जैसे ये JNU, या not only JNU, many universities. Why only JNU? Many universities, they feel that the dilution of merit. In fact, IITs, in fact, जो जितना भी IITs का एक कमिटी फॉर्म हुआ, वो IIT डायरेक्टर्स ने ओपनली खुल के बोल रहा है, जो रिजर्वेशन इंप्लीमेंट किया तो हम एकेडमिक स्टैंडर्ड्स डाइल्यूट करना पड़ता है. So therefore, see the mindset which they feel that these people are encroaching their spaces into the universities has become a major challenge from post 1990s, especially from 2000, because of the Mandal Commission agitations and many other things. एक फर्स्ट जनरेशन जो है, वो दलित बहुजन स्कॉलर्स जो है, टीचर्स जो है, वो लोग यूनिवर्सिटी स्पेसेस में एंटर होना शुरू हुआ. एंड ऑल्सो देयर आर सर्टेन अदर इंपॉर्टेंट इंटरवेंशंस, लाइक the state also was very positive. In fact, if I recall, when Professor Thorat was the UGC chairman, he made compulsory to implement reservations. Professor Khale committee. There are many other interventions where implementation of reservations के लिए बहुत प्रयास किया, स्टेट भी एक्सेप्ट करना पड़ा, और यूनिवर्सिटीज का अंदर जो उनको मन में अच्छा भी नहीं लगा, बट फिर भी they have to do, because the funds were scuttled, many other things were there, movement was there, and other things. So therefore, few first generation of Dalit Bahujan scholars entered into the university spaces. That is second phase. Now what I'm seeing increasingly after this NDA from 2014, I can categorically say that they pretend that they are implementing reservations, but what they are doing, they are damaging the entire public sector, like for example, public universities. You have private universities now. Public universities is no more relevant. Implementation of reservations in public universities is very decimal. They are implementing in some few universities and saying that we are implementing 100% SC/ST reservation. But what about state universities? And also now in Himachal Central University, for my utter surprise, and also much recently in Banaras Hindu University, Allahabad University, I guess, so there were many positions has been advertised, and many positions has been also, I mean, some positions has been said not found suitable, including my own department where I am working. Two OBC positions which they have been, I mean, there was recruitments in the Department of Political Science, Delhi University, and there is two OBC positions. The selection committee felt that it is there are hundreds and hundreds of OBC applicants who finished their PhDs, who are teaching in the universities, who are teaching in colleges, who applied, but they have not been selected. So therefore, the 2014 onwards, one can see a tendency towards to anti-reservation. By just implementing in some JNU or some other places, one cannot claim that we are implementing 100% reservations. So therefore, I see that there is no much change, because at one level you brought EWS, and therefore with EWS positions, mostly the SC/ST OBC positions are being taken over by the EWS position. EWS category, things, which is very open, everywhere. And interestingly, EWS has come, it is only 3 years old or 4 years old. As a votary of reservation, I also support EWS. But at the same time, EWS is being implemented 100% in all the colleges, in all the universities, 100% in toto, because the EWS reservation game itself is a different ball game. But whereas from 1970s to till date, where reserved positions are to be filled, and to be very honest, I would put in front of, through your platform, that what happened to the backlog positions, hundreds and hundreds of backlog positions which has not been filled till now. So therefore, there is not much change. If really the universities, faculties, deans, heads, vice chancellors, and HRD have a good intention, they let them start with backlog and fill all the positions, and then you start recruitment of the other categories. So there is no much change. That still, that attitude, the agony towards to the, and the agony on reserved category is still is there in the minds of the administration, or the state, or whatever the actors within the university.
So, no, sorry. My question is that can you find some kind of change in the attitude of your colleagues, or
Okay.
in environment? Is there any change, or you find that situation is not changing much?
No, see, I can see some. See, that's what I said. Now, in the second phase, there is a complete, I mean, there is a cooperation, because the nature of state, and the nature of state in the sense, MHRD also need to have that willful colleagues. There are few colleagues who really stand for reservations, and there are many progressive people who really stand. I'm not saying that 100% there is a kind of antagonistic, but this attitude of not found suitable, and tampering the roster, that is a major thing. You may not say we don't implement, but we implement, but in a different context, by tampering the roster and many other things. But also, what my other concern is that, I mean, to what extent these how these attitudes need to be addressed is a major challenge in front of the entire system. There are changes, no doubt in that. It depends, time, circumstances, people who are sitting on the table, the other side, all these things matters.
Dhananjay?
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your elaborate comments. In your book, you're talking about inequality of space, and I think that is one of the very important and powerful argument. And the inequality of the space is linked to epistemic injustices. Is this becoming more prevalent as the welfare state deteriorates? I mean, do you also link entire development with decline of welfare state and neoliberal policies?
Well, it's very interesting question. Also, it takes a lot of time, but I'll try to cut short and bring a concise, precise argument. Like, even when India, as a welfare state, even in post independent India, it was, we adopted welfare state as a, form, where, even then, for that matter, till 1990s or even 1980s, let us say that late 80s and 1990s, all the even then, these epistemic injustices prevailed. Welfare state was there, but epistemic injustices continued. वो तो चलता रहा है. And also ये जो है injustices, epistemic injustice जो है, आपको क्लियर कटली नजर में आएगा जिस तरीका से वो सिलेबस बनाते हैं, जिस तरीका से पेडागोजी का अंदर जो पॉलिटिक्स जो है उस टाइम पे, और अभी भी वो जो चल रहा है, it is not only at that point of time but even now also, even in neoliberal state where, there is a more private universities or many other things are coming, corporatization is happening, this epistemic injustices is a continuous phenomenon. Though, I mean, there are certain, okay, if somebody is asking for some kind of, interventions, accept. So therefore, people like we brought certain kind of, papers into the university syllabuses, and, you debate on these issues. And also there are some progressive elements who supported, in my own department, there were colleagues who really supported when we introduced Understanding Ambedkar course. When we introduced, courses like Dalit Bojan Thought, Ambedkar in Contemporary India, certain other courses. But the structural injustices, that's what I mean to say, the structural injustices which are still prevailing. And, curriculum making was never not a value neutral exercise in the university space. If you see that, you see, it's all, is it based on knowledge dissemination or is it politics? And one can witness what is happening with NCRT books now these days. What happened? Many eminent social scientists who said that we don't want to be part of this entire NCRT book the syllabus scuttling, the government which is scuttling NCRT books syllabus bits and pieces without any kind of justification, all those things. Not only NCRT, you can see that, many Ramayanas to, many other readings, and the Shabd Dalit or even Kancha books in Delhi University, and, IIT syllabuses, all many other, there are a lot of challenges with this within these, welfare oriented state interventions like, universities. And welfare state never provided a level playing field. Okay, you implement, but to some extent. Otherwise, there should be a proportionate of faculties, proportionate of, other things would have been much more better. So it was never a level, equal level playing field. Let me give one example for this. The present state, which has scuttled down the scholarships. It is welfare state on paper, democracy, parliamentary system, welfare state, but when it comes to fellowships, post-matric scholarships fund has been drastically cut down. Maulana Azad fellowships has been completely removed. Okay, so therefore, JRF, you reduce the JRF, the number of JRFs and increase the money, where, instead of reducing the number of JRF, you should have been, and also let us see that, how much money we are spending on the entire idea of education. Not even 3%. So therefore, how do we see this entire system which functions in a very unjust form? And you can see, the other day I was trying to look whether the scheduled caste subcomponent plan funds are being properly utilized or not. Many research heading bodies are completely kept these things aside. Over a long period of struggle, this SC/ST subcomponent plan, which gives a very specific funding towards to these sections for all kinds of research, many things into academic, I'm talking about only specifically into academic space. So now you don't find that special component plan. So what happened to this entire idea of welfare? Sabke saath sabka vikas nahi ho raha hai. Especially when I bring, because therefore the research, travel, grants, many things are being completely scattered. ICSSR, UGC, MHRD all failed in promoting a kind of welfare things within the institutional setup.
So, Dhananjay, can I ask one question?
I think you should ask next one because.
Okay. So, sir, in your book, You equated this, I mean, you questioned this idea of speaking good English or knowledge of good English with the knowledge of discipline. And I hope you understand this and you know this as a teacher, that in Delhi University and in many other universities, you have mentioned also this fact in your book, that language has been a constant source of exclusion for many students. And do you think any kind of change in this situation, and what would be your suggestion to overcome this situation? I mean, there are different situations in different areas of country, but if you can say something about Delhi or some other universities.
सी जो लैंग्वेज जो है ना, भाषा बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट रोल प्ले करता है क्लासरूम के अंदर। खासकर जब बच्चे रीजनल मीडियम लैंग्वेज में पढ़ के जो लोग आते हैं, उनको एक 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 अलग माहौल मिलता है। जैसा दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी या जेएनयू में थोड़ा बहुत, खासकर वहां पे जो पॉइंट सिस्टम है एडमिशंस का, सो देयरफॉर यू कैन फाइंड डिफरेंट बैकग्राउंड ऑफ द स्टूडेंट्स। बट वेयर एज आई मीन यूनिवर्सिटीज लाइक दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी, आईआईटीज, आईआईएम्स, जिस तरीके से जो है, ये पूरा एक ऑक्सब्रिज एलीट बोलते हैं। मतलब आप अंग्रेजी में बोला तो बहुत मेरिटोरियस है, हिंदी में बोला तो नहीं, मेरिटोरियस नहीं है, उसका उसका भाव भी नहीं मिलता है। So therefore, good English, good language, the common practice is that who is good, who speaks good English or who writes good English. Speaking English, good writing English is not the benchmark of knowledge. As per my own, मतलब मैं ये सोचता हूँ भाई, लिखने में, पढ़ने में वो नहीं है, वो knowledge is something different, So therefore, good, therefore the automatically ये जो perception है तो इंग्लिश मीडियम का तरीका तरफ से, वो एक एलिट परसेप्शन है। सो देयरफॉर जिस तरीका से जो रीजनल, जो जहां मैंने दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी में मैं पढ़ा रहा हूं, जब मेजॉरिटी मतलब क्लासरूम के अंदर 60 to 70% हिंदी मीडियम बच्चे होता है, जिस जैसे माहौल में आप दोनों लैंग्वेजेस को मिक्स करके बोलना बहुत जरूरी होता है। खासकर हिंदी मीडियम वाले को जिस तरीके से आप सपोर्ट स्ट्रक्चर, एकेडमिक सपोर्ट स्ट्रक्चर देना बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट होता है। बट मेनी ऑफ कलीग्स दे डोंट बिलीव इन दिस। इट इज दे रोमांटिसाइज हिंदी, मतलब हिंदी मीडियम, अभी स्टेट भी वही बोल रहा है हिंदी मीडियम अच्छा है, एज ए आई डोंट माइंड, any regional medium is also very important in the entire knowledge dissemination, but to what extent it is being practically implemented, therefore that is the problem. Like for example, you need more translations. I mean, the best example I can say that I'm not valorizing Kamal, I mean, I can see that the way you have translated, if many colleagues takes that responsibility of translating many books into Hindi, वो जो democratizing knowledge जो है ना, वो बहुत बढ़िया होता है। लाइक आप खासकर आप जाइए मलयालम में, सब अलग सारे किताब मलयालम में ट्रांसलेशन है, जो पॉलिटिकल साइंस किताब है या जो भी है, एटलीस्ट सोशल साइंसेस बुक्स। आप तेलुगु में जाइए, तेलुगु अकेडमी है, वो पूरा ट्रांसलेट करते हैं। ठीक है, आप तमिलनाडु में जाइए, तमिल में ट्रांसलेशन बुक किताब मिलता है। यहाँ पे क्यों हिंदी में क्यों नहीं मिलता है? जैसा कुछ कुछ किताबों अभी जो आ रहा है, जैसा अभी हिलाल अहमद ने एक पार्था चटर्जी का जो किताब ने वो ट्रांसलेट किया, जिस तरीके से ट्रांसलेशन बिकम्स अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट सोर्स फॉर रीजनल मीडियम स्टूडेंट्स। व्हाई वी आर इग्नोरिंग दिस पार्ट? हिंदी विभाग है, हिंदी विभाग नहीं, वी हैव ए हिंदी translation cell in the university, which is like cleaning the dust every day on its tables. Okay, किस तरीका से वो अच्छा काम कर सकते हैं। So therefore from this trickle down approach बोलता है उसको, like for example from colonial state we have this approach which is being followed। मतलब top class जो है वो English है, वो quality education है, therefore they will get employment। क्लास यूनिवर्सिटीज में वो एक है। दूसरा जो है then the commons, the working class, the दलित भोजन, आदिवासी, all regional medium, हाँ ये लोग, हाँ जिस तरीके से एक secondary status जो मिलता है। And also this one can witness NEP नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी भी है, वैलोराइज करते हैं हिंदी मीडियम के लिए, ये इट्स ए काइंड ऑफ प्रोपेगेंडा। But to what extent it is being implementing is I'm not seeing, that can the regional medium becomes a very important source of teaching in these universities? Can they take this kind of position? They cannot, they will not, because again elites are into this stream. And as a teacher in Delhi University, I feel comfortable to interact with the local, sorry, the regional Hindi medium students, because I consider them as also on par, equally knowledgeable with the other students. And if you provide information, they will do wonders. That's what my experience.
बिल्कुल। धनंजय?
Thank you, sir. And uh, if this book is, I mean, this book is on exclusion of the list in higher education. But if I take various categories from this book and make a separate book or write a separate book, then I will have a different language of social sciences. The way you have conceptualized, created, cultivated, nurtured those concepts and categories which are very important. And I think social sciences must learn how to localize, universalize, regionalize, and also humanize social sciences, and that is a very important. In this book, I also see this book in that direction. One of the concepts you have used, microaggressions, and what exactly are microaggression and how do we recognize them?
Um, no, microaggression in this particular context, when I used, it is like, it is like an everyday caste planning. If I say explain what is this caste planning, that how the idea of caste or the institution of caste is used in perpetuating discrimination. It could be, many a times uh, the victim might be not knowing whether he or she is being discriminated or not, like through, words, through language, through gestures, through body language, which are very, very intended, and the target would understand the casteist message. Sometimes they may not, but sometimes they easily understood. Let me give two examples. A long back, it happened with me, therefore one can contextualize this. A colleague of mine who is a good friend, who said that आपका थोरट सिक्स्थ पे कमीशन कब दे रहा है, मतलब एग्जैक्ट वर्डिंग है ये. चाय पीने पे, चाय पीते, वी वेंट टू हैव टी एंड ए गुड फ्रेंड, हु सेड दैट आपका थोरट सिक्स्थ पे कमीशन कब दे रहा है. मतलब आपका थोरट, थोरट वाज द यूजीसी चेयरमैन फॉर एवरी टीचर इन दिस कंट्री. बट ये जो आपका थोरट जो है ना, that is what the idea of the pushing the caste agenda into the mind. So you feel, I felt for 10 seconds, I felt, okay, is it because I belongs to a Dalit or untouchable background, Thorat belongs to untouchable background, so therefore I am equated or he is equated with me. So therefore, and another, colleague who said that when I changed the spectacles, so the colleague said, colleague from either university faculty or college faculty, I'm not revealing that, but अरे आप तो अंबेडकर जैसा दिख रहा है. मतलब एक 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 मतलब इंटेंशन हो सकता है, नहीं हो सकता, बट ये जो आपका तोरट है और ये जो अंबेडकर जैसा दिख रहा है, और एक तो आप बहुत अंबेडकरवादी निकल के आया. And much recently a colleague commented that, ये तो आप बहुत सोशल जस्टिस चैंपियन हो, आप ही ठेका लेके रखा है क्या. मतलब, see, therefore, me as an individual who experienced this, so therefore the body language, the language which matters a lot. And many students, they face all kinds of, humiliative language, like, preppies in IITs, in like, when it comes to scholarships or reservations, they say that ye log government ka damads hai. So such kind of, very derogatory, humiliative languages. And you sit in the mess hall, and people will comment on your eating habits, the way you eat, the way your body, the way you wear the fabrics, dresses. And another one example is that, a colleague of mine who is retired, when I published that EPW paper, that was my first paper which I wrote, I'm mentioning, the colleague said, उन्होंने बताया मेरे को, कलीग ने बोला, अरे आपका पेपर ईपीडब्ल्यू में छापा. Matlab, see, in the sense, certain spaces are reserved for certain section of the people. So therefore, Dalits are not supposed to enter into those domains. So such kind of, everyday caste planning situation, is being encountered, openly बोलता है आपका जात क्या है. जैसे BHU और इलाहाबाद यूनिवर्सिटीज में, और तमाम, जैसे दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी इज नो मोर लेसर देन दैट, आपका जात क्या है पूछता है मुंह पे. एंड कैन यू बिलीव, वन मोर एग्जांपल आई वुड लाइक टू गिव, एंड आई विल स्टॉप हियर. इन IITs, दर्शन सोलंकी का जो अभी हुआ, even in IIT Delhi, I am telling about, this is an inside source where I have heard from another faculty that some faculty ask their students in the introductory class to introduce themselves with their names and their ranks. What does it mean? So these are all a form of, microaggression. आपको पता ही नहीं चलेगा आपको किस तरीका से ये जो बोलता रहता है, आपका कास्ट आइडेंटिटी को लेकर. दिस वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग थिंग टू बी अंडरस्टूड. इनफैक्ट इन माय बुक आई हैव डिटेलली गिवन हाउ पेयर ग्रुप के साथ, टीचर्स के साथ किस तरीके से होता है, ये सारा चीज मैंने डेटा भी दिया है.
रंजय, मैं एक क्वेश्चन, आखिरी क्वेश्चन अपनी तरफ से पूछता हूँ, फिर आप एक क्वेश्चन पूछिएगा. सर, ये I mean, you mentioned about the situation of Dalits and also ST students in universities. Now, in my mind, your book opens a new area of research for other marginalized section too. So, in your understanding, is there any uh, you know uh, similarities between the situation of, for example, Muslim students and Dalit students? Or can we do some kind of comparative research, or can we do some kind of similar research for Muslim students, for example? So, what is your comment on that?
Well, very interesting actually. See, माइनॉरिटी स्टूडेंट्स का वो प्रॉब्लम्स एक अलग तरीके से प्रॉब्लम्स है. जैसे विमेन का होता है वो के अलग तरीके से. कॉमन प्रॉब्लम्स जो है वो कॉमन प्रॉब्लम्स है. स्टूडेंट्स होने के नाते जो कॉमन प्रॉब्लम्स है वो सब स्टूडेंट्स को फेस करना पड़ता है. एंड देयर आर स्पेसिफिक सोशल कैटेगरीज लाइक विमेन, शेड्यूल्ड कास्ट, शेड्यूल्ड ट्राइब, माइनॉरिटीज के अंदर भी जो मुस्लिम्स है, क्रिश्चियंस है, नॉर्थ ईस्ट स्टूडेंट्स है फॉर दैट मैटर, और देयर आर मेनी इवन लैंग्वेज बेस्ड डिस्क्रिमिनेशन विच द अर्लियर क्वेश्चन वाज आल्सो देयर. किस तरीके से हम, एंड आल्सो डिसिप्लिन बेस्ड, लाइक साइंसेस, ह्यूमैनिटीज, अलग अलग तरीका से स्टूडेंट्स को अलग अलग तरीका प्रॉब्लम्स होता है. नाउ मुस्लिम स्टूडेंट्स आर इन डीप डेंजर नाउ. The elite Muslims, they don't face problem like elite Dalits, because again this elite Dalits, I am putting in a very point blankly that elite Dalits who are from bureaucrat background, who are from different kind of business background, hardly this matters for them because they are rich. They can go to any other universities like Ashoka or Jindal, they can persuade. Over a period of time, elite Dalits are not going to come to these universities, and in fact elite other caste groups also, because you can see that how many rich people are sending their children. This is going to happen even in places like Delhi University, where there is a bizarre way of recruitments that are happening, and this is going to scuttle the image of Delhi University, the standards of Delhi University. I'm sure that many teachers in Delhi University, if you take a survey, they will not send their children to Delhi University colleges. I'm sure about it. Number one. Number two, when it comes to Muslim students, yes, they face a lot of problems. The way the dominant atmosphere, like for example, you can say, it is, there is a subtle way of religious discrimination. If you try to come up with certain topics which like Dalits want to study issues on caste, discrimination, government itself said that for overseas fellowship, don't encourage such kind of studies. Now think about Muslims, faculty representation ही नहीं है उनका. At least Dalits का दो कुछ कुछ कहीं कहीं पे फैकल्टी रिप्रेजेंटेशन है. सो मुस्लिम स्टूडेंट्स का जो प्रॉब्लम्स है यूनिवर्सिटीज का अंदर, खासकर अभी जो प्रेजेंट माहौल जो है वो बहुत वल्नरेबल है. एंड इट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टू स्टडी. इवन जोया हसन's work very categorically mentioned that Muslims are most marginalized in comparison with scheduled caste people. So therefore it is very important to study the discrimination patterns, how they've experienced the idea of exclusion in these spaces. And they're also, like for example, let me give how campuses are now, the entire campuses are becoming very authoritarian spaces. One particular religious group which is dominating, I can see the right wing emergence of the state, and it is portraying its religious dominance within all the university spaces. So therefore, in this tensioned atmosphere, you go and see in any space, you have all kinds of one religious dominating ideologies that are being debated, rather than, of course, religion is very important to study, any religion for that matter, but why only one particular religion? If you take Delhi University, because I am being in Delhi University, I am bringing more examples of Delhi University. And there would be a number of universities like this who are trying to promote we are going to study about the Center for Hindu Studies. Why not Muslim studies? Why not Buddhist studies? Why not some other, or why not in general religious studies? You bring all other religions, juxtapose each other, let the students debate, let students gain knowledge. So therefore these spaces are increasingly becoming authoritarian based on religious lines also. So they can't, and it is very important. And you see that even now it is very clear cut agenda that when you are scuttling down certain fellowships like Maulana Azad fellowships, where Muslims and very less number of Muslims comes into university spaces, and now you are scuttling down them, means you don't want other groups to get into higher educational spaces. This is the best example which I can give.
हाँ, ये नीचे से माइक ऑफ करने में थोड़ी दिक्कत होती है, तो धनंजय आप सवाल कीजिए.
And this is also mentioned in your book, and I am just as a point of emphasis I am asking, how can the concept of public universities be reclaimed when the fees at certain private universities are nearly 7 to 8 times higher than the national average income?
It's that's what, therefore, in the era of liberal era, it is very important question, where the new national educational policy, which it talks about the idea of nation, nativity, and many other things, but it doesn't take cognizance of the marginalized groups or many others. So therefore, education as a public good has been completely scuttled down. Education is supposed to be guaranteed to each and every social section or communities. So it should be a public good. It should not become a private good. Now you see that on par equal all private universities, and can you believe there is a campus called, I heard, and we all heard about Geo University, which has got 100 crores of public money, your money and my money, and whoever is going to listen this, उनको ये पता है भाई जियो यूनिवर्सिटी बोल के एक आइडिया है, यूनिवर्सिटी अभी तक नहीं है, उसको 100 करोड़ रुपया सरकार ऑलरेडी दे दिया है, जहां पे बहुत स्टेट यूनिवर्सिटीज जो है उसको वहां पे पानी भी पीने के लिए वहां पे इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर नहीं होता है वहां पे. अभी रिसेंटली ओनली हरियाणा सरकार ने एक नोटिस, एक सर्कुलर निकाला, वो यूजीसी से फॉलो कर रहा है. यूजीसी इटसेल्फ इज सेइंग दैट you have to come out with very innovative ideas, self-financed courses, जहां जो पैसे होते हैं बच्चे, वो लोग सिर्फ वही लोग पढ़ सकते. दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी में जर्नलिज्म कोर्स जो है वो सेल्फ फाइनेंस्ड कोर्स है, उसमें कितना लोग पैसा लेके आके देके पढ़ सकते. सो जो हरियाणा का जो सरकार ने आजकल जो नोटिस निकाला, ऑल स्टेट यूनिवर्सिटीज, इट इश्यूड ए नोटिस सेइंग दैट लुक, आप लोग सेल्फ फाइनेंस्ड self generating fund, state पे depend मत हो जाओ. Dharmendra Pradhan himself said in one of the newspapers that please don't depend on the state that will fund to all the universities. You have to look for your own funding. So therefore ये जो public good का जो है वो खत्म हो गया. Therefore there should be a social consensus. Until unless जो social consensus नहीं होगा ना, ये जो है वो चलता रहेगा. And how much money we are investing on education? I said वो पिछले सवाल में 3% also we are not investing. And जो जितना इन्वेस्ट कर रहा है वो institutions of eminence बोल के कुछ यूनिवर्सिटीज को वो करके करोड़ों रुपया कुछ यूनिवर्सिटीज को दे रहा है, जैसे दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी को, जैसा चौधरी चरण सिंह यूनिवर्सिटी लायक नहीं है, या कोई भागलपुर यूनिवर्सिटी लायक नहीं है, या कोई तेलंगाना का यूनिवर्सिटी लायक नहीं है. मतलब यू आर क्रिएटिंग ए हायरार्की विद इन द यूनिवर्सिटी स्पेसेस. So therefore, all these things are very important. But when it comes to fee structure, शायद Allahabad University students, they were on strike about the increase of fees. If I am right, Allahabad University बच्चे they were fighting for their against the increased fees. अभी उस्मानिया यूनिवर्सिटी हैदराबाद में जो बच्चे लोग इतना उनको एक 20,000 रुपया 25,000 रुपया एक सेमेस्टर को पीएचडी स्टूडेंट का, मतलब क्या ये पैसा है, ये कहां से मतलब सी देयरफॉर. एंड इंटरेस्टिंगली दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी का अंदर जो अंडर ग्रेजुएट एडमिशन जो होता है धनंजय, इट इज लाइक हिंदू कॉलेज का फीस स्ट्रक्चर अलग होता है, रामानुजन कॉलेज का फीस स्ट्रक्चर अलग होता है, स्वामी श्रद्धानंद कॉलेज का फीस स्ट्रक्चर अलग होता है. ये क्या है पूरा एक लाइक डेवलपमेंट फी, ये फी फलाना फी, ये करके पूरा इट्स लाइक यू आर सकिंग द एंटायर फाइनेंशियल, you are sucking like a blood, you are sucking the blood of these जो बच्चे उनको पढ़ाने के लिए भेजते उस पेरेंट्स को. So therefore all this this fee structure is completely bizarre. I can tell you, if it is a public good, it should be spent on the poor and marginalized. And also in fact, even I'm not saying that poor and marginalized belongs to marginalized. Of course, socially marginalized belongs to the socially excluded groups, but poor can be anyone. A poor person can come from the other castes also. So why can't you guarantee education even for them also? EWS is being benefited for the within upper caste. That also it talks about income category and all other things, but जो genuine लोग हैं उनको भी नहीं जा रहा है. So the fee structure is nothing but imposition of the corporate idea, imposition or promoting. In fact, they're trying to scuttle down public universities so that they will the mafia, private mafia. It is nothing but they are the people who are influencing the entire educational policy.
तो आज की बातचीत को हम लोग यहीं रोकते हैं. सर, चूंकि आप काफ़ी लोकप्रिय हैं स्टूडेंट्स में भी, तो एक छोटा सा रिक्वेस्ट हम लोग की तरफ से था कि आप एक वाक्य ये जरूर बोल दें कि ये एक अच्छी कोशिश है और आप लोग चैनल को सब्सक्राइब करें ताकि स्टूडेंट्स ज़्यादा हमारी रीच बढ़े इस कार्यक्रम की. तो
देखिए इस तरीके से जो डिबेट्स जो होता है, जो खासकर जो ऑडियंस जो सुन रहा है या बाद में भी जो लोग सुनेंगे जब ये टेलीकास्ट होने के बाद, जिस तरीके से चैनल्स को हम सब्सक्राइब करके सब मतलब वी आर ट्राइंग टू एनकरेज देम. सो देयरफॉर एक पर्सपेक्टिव्स को अलग पर्सपेक्टिव्स को सामने लेके आने का तरीका से जो ये चैनल या जो नई वो कर रहा है, तो वो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. मैं आई एम गोइंग टू सब्सक्राइब फॉर दिस चैनल and it's very important that you have brought this debate into the public domain. Thank you Dhananjay, and thank you Kamal, and thank you all for watching this.
Thank you. तो आज के इस कार्यक्रम को हम यहीं विराम देते हैं. अगले अंक में जब हम मिलेंगे तो एक और पुस्तक पे चर्चा करेंगे और उनके लेखक हमारे साथ होंगे. प्रोफेसर एन सुकुमार को बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद. उन्होंने समय निकाला और बहुत अच्छी तरीके से अपनी बातों को रखा. ये सारे मुद्दे ऐसे हैं जिन पर लगातार बात करते रहने की ज़रूरत है, और उसमें जो मुझे आज की बातचीत में बहुत रोचक बात लगी वह कॉन्सेप्ट्स की भी बात की जो धनंजय बार-बार लेकर आ रहे थे, और जिस तरीके से प्रोफ़ेसर एन सुकुमार ने सारे सवालों का जवाब दिया, उससे मुझे उम्मीद है कि आप सभी काफ़ी खुद को समृद्ध महसूस कर रहे होंगे, और लगातार इन प्रश्नों पर हम सोचते रहेंगे और स्थिति को बेहतर बनाने के लिए काम करते रहेंगे। तो इस विचार के साथ मैं आज के कार्यक्रम को समाप्त करना चाहूँगा। धनंजय, आप कुछ कहना चाहेंगे?
नहीं, मैं बस यही कहना चाहूँगा कि जो लोग भी इस प्रोग्राम को देख रहे हैं अपनी लाइब्रेरी के थ्रू या अगर खुद खरीद सकते हैं तो पुस्तक को ज़रूर पढ़ें।
जी। थैंक यू
थैंक
सर।
यू,
थैंक यू।
थैंक
नमस्कार।
यू, बाय,
नमस्कार।
नमस्कार, बाय।